The Etna volcano was in full eruption, a sign that Typhon, the monster imprisoned by Zeus, was especially unhappy. The tremors caused by the volcanoes left Hades, the lord of the underworld, worried. He feared that these tremors would split the earth and bring light to the world of darkness. So he climbs to the surface to better analyze the situation. Meanwhile, Aphrodite and her son Eros, also known by the Romans as Cupid, were watching Persephone, the goddess of spring. Eros and Aphrodite were offended by the fact that both the goddess Athena and the goddess Artemis were virgin and pure, and thus denied the impulses of passion and love. And the young Persephone was on the same path, so much so that in order to maintain her chastity, her mother, the goddess Demeter, took her away from Mount Olympus, since she was constantly besieged by various gods. Aphrodite realized that Hades was moving in the direction of Persephone. Hades was another who could avoid the influence of the goddess of love, since he lived in the underworld. But Aphrodite believed that this is the time to change that. Eros chooses his sharpest arrow and strikes the heart of the god of the underworld. Hades does not perceive anything, for the arrows of Eros cannot be detected, but when precise, have a devastating impact. When confronted with Persephone, Hades is seized by an enthralling impulse. He was hopelessly in love. Impetuously, Hades grabs his beloved and causes the earth to open so that he may return to his domain. Demeter, the mother of Persephone and the goddess of the crops, misses her daughter and goes around the world in search of her girl. After much searching, she meets one of the nymphs who used to accompany her daughter. She tells her how Hades kidnapped her and led her into the underworld through the land that opened up. Demeter, due to her deep sadness for not finding her daughter, the goddess will eventually neglect her tasks, and thus the land became infertile and the crops were lost. Knowing her daughter's fate, Demeter turns to Zeus so that he would force Hades to return her daughter. Reluctantly, Zeus says he cannot do anything, since Hades is sovereign in his territory. Demeter threatens to make the world infertile forever, since the land was complicit in her daughter's abduction by opening the way to the underworld. Zeus, alarmed by the threat, decides that Persephone may return to the surface as long as she has not eaten anything offered by Hades. The supreme god allows Hermes to lead Demeter to the underworld so that she could rescue her daughter. When she got there, she discovered that Persephone had already eaten a pomegranate offered by Hades, and so her bond with the underworld could not be totally undone. Demeter is appalled, and to soften the relationship with her mother-in-law, Hades proposes that Persephone spends half the year with each one of them. Sealing the agreement, Persephone can return to the surface with her mother. From the soil that was infertile began to sprout flowers in great quantity. The harvests were again full. But the period of encounters between Persephone and Demeter is exhausted, and the young goddess has to return to the underworld to stay with her husband. Demeter is devastated to see her daughter leave, and depression returns to neglect her tasks. However, with the return of her daughter after the period with her husband, everything returns to flourish. And so the seasons begin.